On June 4th, 2025, President Trump issued a presidential proclamation which banned travel from several countries around the world, 19 I think the total was, including some that had limited travel or travel restrictions as a consequence of several factors, including visa overstays, no reliable governance, and things like that. The left lost their mind. Well, virtually unnoticed except for a report in the Washington Post just a couple of days ago, the State Department issued a memorandum signed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio calling for travel bans for many more countries, including 25 in Africa. 25 countries in Africa as a consequence of failed governance, corrupt governments, the inability to prove the provenance of travelers, many other issues. And the left will lose their mind. Democratic surrender monkeys in this country falsely calling illegal aliens migrants and immigrants. They're neither of which. Migrants is a legal term that applies to people who apply for a temporary work visa, and immigrants are people who enter the country legally with the intent of immigrating here at our invitation. Criminal alien invaders drop their identification, hide their identity, steal Social Security numbers, work illegally in this country, bring in pestilence, and undermine the national security of this country, the social cohesion of it. And the fact that a meatpacking plant in Nebraska just lost 75% of its employees because they're illegal aliens tells you exactly how serious the national security problem is. People shouldn't be in the country, and employers are part of this scam to invade our nation. So let's get back to this pending travel ban, which was just announced a couple of days ago, and it's going largely unnoticed. But the bottom line is that the Trump administration gave a number of countries 60 days to sort out their mess. And they gave them an initial date of this week to give them a response on how they're going to go back fixing this. So among the countries that will be on this list of banned countries is an additional 25 African countries in the Sahel, in Southern Africa, and includes longtime close U.S. allies like Egypt and Djibouti, where we have a military base. This may surprise some folks, but the Trump administration is not playing around with our sovereignty, and rightly so. Some of the countries have no competent or cooperative central government authority to produce reliable identity documents or other civil documents. In fact, many of them that's the case. They can't prove the provenance of people whom they issue passports to. This became a major problem, which I reported on Inside the Government many years ago, when we found that Comoros was selling citizenship to Iranians who were on travel bans before terror ties. So they would travel to Comoros, majority Muslim country, buy citizenship, be issued a passport in a fake name, and then travel to the UK, to Western Europe, and to the United States, despite being on travel bans, because there was no biometrics in those passports at the time. Things have changed now. So this is one of the problems, and this presents a significant national security risk. Another reason is because many of these governments suffer from widespread government fraud, according to the Trump administration, and others have a large number of their citizens who overstay their visas in America. As I said, this is an update to the list that was published on the 4th of June. These countries have 60 days to sort this out, but they did have to give an initial report to the Trump administration this week or face this ban coming into effect now. Now, early in his first term, President Trump issued a travel ban from several countries, and it was fraudulently, falsely proclaimed a Muslim travel ban. But it never included the world's largest Muslim country, Indonesia. They were not part of the travel ban. That travel ban back in 2017 included Iran, Iraq, Syria, Somalia, Sudan, Yemen, and Libya. All war zones, all conflict zones. Yet the dishonest surrender monkeys from the Demon Rat Party call that a Muslim ban. And the leftists who hate America and want to surrender our country and destroy Western civilization thought that that was immoral. It wasn't immoral. It was prudent and wise. Isn't that redundant? Prudent and wise? Sort of. So the surrender monkeys tied up the Trump administration in legal cases, and we as taxpayers paid for these unnecessary legal cases as they sought to have President Trump's constitutional authority overridden by the courts. Well, eventually, in June of 2018, the Supreme Court decided this issue. The president has the authority to do this. It's in his purview as commander-in-chief and the person responsible for national security in this country, protecting our sovereignty. And the surrender monkeys will try it again, but they're not going to get anywhere because historical precedent has been set. The Supreme Court has put in place. But they will go to lower courts and find corrupt, captured leftist judges who will put stays in place. The Trump administration will adhere to what the courts say because they do follow the rule of law despite the lies of the left. So, folks, here's the bottom line. We could have as many as 32, over half the countries in Africa, banned from travel. What is significant about this, though, to the U.S., what is significant about this is that one country which has continually undermined U.S. national interest, one country that continually insults the president, one country that continually passes racist legislation to undermine the lives of its racial minorities, is not on that list, because it's not a punishment list. It's a list for countries that fail to comply with internationally recognized norms and standards for passport issuance, for sharing criminal databases, and for entry and exit into and out of their country. And that's most of Africa, despite the fact that we, the taxpayer, have paid millions and millions and millions of dollars to provide biometric systems for these African countries. Which, ironically, whenever I go in a country like Tanzania, I get basically a body cavity search and am forced to give fingerprints and things like that for equipment that we gave the Tanzanians. But people from East Africa just wander in and show their non-biometric passports and wander right on through. The bigotry and the racism that takes place across Africa against Westerners coming to Africa is epic. While Africans whine and cry about racism against Africa, it's not really a true story. The generosity of the developed world in pouring money into Africa, pouring technology, building infrastructure for the past 60 years, and the insults and the racism and bigotry directed against us for our generosity and our largesse is pathetic. So, 25 additional countries face travel bans to the United States. Not as punishment, but as a consequence of not doing their job. What say you, South Africa? What say you, world? What do you guys got to say about this? Is it right? Is it morals just? Well, it is. And we'll see how it goes from here. Cheers.